Before I introduce today's program, I have an observation. It's my thought that the reason Donald Trump won so big in New York is that people in New York think if he becomes president, he'll have to move to Washington. I think that's the truth. Next week is one of the most important meetings of our club. It's when our club's foundation gives out grants. We're going to be giving out $55,000 in grants to 9 different community entities. And I hope you all come because the joy on these people's face is tremendous. And that's the reason this club exists. The main is to do community service, and that's how we do community service to a great extent, is through our foundation. So please plan on attending and enjoy a wonderful program next week. Our speaker today, is someone I'm really excited to have because we all see the Wheels buses running around town and we wonder what they're all about. Michael Tree is the Executive Director of the Livermore-Amador Valley Transit Authority, which is the local transit agency that operates Wheels bus system. Prior to joining that, in 2014, he had over 20 years' experience in the management and senior positions with the public sector, including recently as General Manager of the Missoula Urban Transportation District in Montana. He also served as City Manager for the City of 20 Pounds, where he was a Rotarian. I found out today. He was General Manager of the Sierra Management Operator of the Public Transit System in Porterville. He has a Master's of Science in Transportation from San Jose State and a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from Brigham Young. He has 7 children, and they're active in the Mormon Church, and him and his family enjoy hiking and golf. Michael, come on up.
Well, it's great to be here today, and boy, I sure appreciate all the things that you do as members of your Rotary Club, both locally and throughout the world. I have a son who is just getting ready to leave to Botswana in southern Africa to serve a mission, and I think you'll see a lot of the things that you put together over the years that allow folks in that country to live a more happy and prosperous life. So appreciate all that you do. Again, I'm Michael Tree. I was here about a year ago just for a brief comment, and it was in regard to a kickoff for some planning efforts for the Wheels bus system. And I'll just spend a few minutes today maybe talking about the Wheels bus system and then about these planning efforts and where we're at currently, and give you some ideas of where you can go look at these changes that the LAFTA board will be considering on May 2nd. But first, just wanted to make sure everybody knew the different services that were provided by Wheels. Yeah, on your left there, on your left would be your traditional Wheels bus, and that's a picture of the bus in the downtown area here in Livermore. And then we have a premium service that Wheels operates. It's called the Rapid, and it goes from Livermore, starts at the lab, and then comes into town, and then goes out and goes up Isabel and on into Dublin and into the BART station. So what's great about the Rapid is that the seats are more comfortable, so you're in for a better ride. Soon we'll have free Wi-Fi on all the Rapid buses, so that as you're cruising through town getting to the BART station, you can have something fun to do. And generally speaking, the buses are quicker. Every 15 minutes there's a Rapid at a Rapid bus stop, as opposed to your traditional service, which is 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour, depending on where you're at. So really quick, Wheels is governed by a 7-member board. There's 2 council members from each of the cities in Livermore, Dublin, and Pleasanton, and then Scott Haggerty also serves on behalf of the county on that board. Here locally you have Councilwoman Maureen Turner and Councilman Stephen Spadowski. So if you want to talk transit, those are 2 great folks to talk to, as well as Scott Haggerty, who represents you at the county. So this is the existing system. This is the system that the board wants to do some improvements to. It's what's currently running. It's evolved over 30 years. And as things evolve, they tend to just kind of creep and meander and get complicated. We brought a stakeholder group together to help us with the redesign of the bus system. And I think half of the people in the room, business leaders, educational, healthcare leaders, basically said that looks like a map with a bunch of spaghetti on it. And they had a hard time trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B. And if you look over in Pleasanton, it's not easy, or it's easy to see why that could be a complicated map to read. So that's what we've got. There's 17 routes. In addition to those 17 routes, there's 15 school bus routes that get the kids to and from school. And you know what, I'll move on. What I was going to say was there's 17 routes, but at peak there's 50 buses on those routes, to just kind of give you an idea of how many buses are out circulating. So this is a feature in the downtown area. The buses operate on a pulse system, so they come in, transfer passengers, and pulse out and do the route again and then come back in. So what's great about this picture is it's downtown by the Bankhead Theater on the other side of the street, kind of adjacent to the parking garage. But these two buildings, the restrooms and the customer service area, will soon be torn down. And that's where the historic depot will go, the Livermore Historic Depot that's being renovated. So it'll be a beautiful project for the community. So here's some key numbers. Some of them I've touched on. Those 17 bus routes carry 1.7 million rides a year. We'll talk about that in a few seconds. But also there's these little minivans that run around town with a top hat on them that say Wheels. And that's the service for folks that can't access the route system because of a disability. And so we pick them up and get them where they want to go. Carry about 46,000 trips a year with that. 92 drivers, 15 mechanics, about 20 support staff, which would be your driver trainers and supervisors. And there's a $16 million budget that runs Wheels. And as you can see, that's a combination of federal, a lot of state money, some local money like your Measure B, which is really important to your system, and then fares pay about 12% of that cost. So here's the problem statement that the board was working with as they sought to redesign the bus system. Over the last 5 years, costs have gone up about 29%. And over the last 5 years, ridership has declined 5%. So anytime you stick money into an investment, more and more money over a series of years, and your return is less and less and less, you know you've got a problem. And that's the problem that the Wheels board was faced with, was how to turn the ship around so that they can be a good investment for the community, a good investment for a lot of competitive grants. A lot of the $16 million you saw there is competitive money, and as the Wheels system was becoming less and less productive, it was becoming less competitive with the grants, a vicious cycle. So the main reason why the Wheels bus system has been losing ridership over the last 5 years is that it's a coverage-based system. And so the buses have meandered, and they go out and they go into neighborhoods and come back in, and they go all over the place. And if you want to have a more productive bus system that carries more people for the dollar, you need to focus in on productivity. And so on the right-hand side is an example of how productivity works. People walk to the bus route, and the bus route runs more frequently and is more livable. And so when we did a telephone survey for folks in the Tri-Valley, we asked them what they wanted most out of the bus system. And just like the board was thinking, they want it to be more simpler, easier to understand, more frequent so it's livable. And they wanted quick, easy, convenient access into the BART and A stations. About 52% of the community in the Tri-Valley exits every morning and heads out of the Tri-Valley to go to work. And so a lot of them are trying to depend on the BART system and getting there and not having parking hassles and so on. So the board decided they're going to move more towards a productivity model, straighten out the routes and run higher frequency on the key corridors to increase the ridership and make it more convenient. So I'll skip that one because we just covered it. This is a timeline, and you don't need to read it if you don't want to. I'll give you the essence of the timeline. The board started about a year ago on the process. They brought on board a stakeholder group who gave them lots of advice at a real 30,000-foot level. Your healthcare leaders, your educational leaders, the laboratory came in as part of that team. They've worked with the planning team. You had a technical advisory committee, so Mark Roberts and his team from the city were on the TAC, and they have helped the process. And then we have an accessible advisory committee, folks that are disabled that have helped us. The phone survey, a ridership survey. Long and short of it is we created 3 scenarios for the public to comment on. And through a series of workshops throughout the year, we've narrowed down the improvements to a preferred alternative. And so the preferred alternative is really important. There's a public comment period out on the preferred alternative. I'll show it to you in a couple of seconds. You can comment at wheelsforward.com. Again, wheelsforward.com. It's really easy to find the route-by-route changes, both illustrated and described, and to comment on each one of them. Then the public comment period will close on April 22nd, and on Monday, May 2nd, at the Bankhead Theater, the board will hold a public hearing. And at the public hearing, they'll review all these comments that have come in, as well as new comments that folks attending the public hearing may want to say about the preferred alternative, and then they'll consider these changes for approval. So long and short of it is April 22nd is kind of a deadline to comment, and then if you want, you can attend the public hearing on May 2nd, 6 p.m. at the Bankhead Theater. So this is the preferred alternative, and I'll go through really quickly some of the key features of the preferred alternative. One, it just kind of got decompressed and kind of straightened out. Instead of there being 17 routes, there's now 12. And all of the money that was being invested in the routes that have gone away were reinvested in frequency in the key corridor routes. And I'll just give you some highlights. For Livermore, in particular, the Rapid, which is that black route, is rerouted. It goes through Livermore on East Avenue from the lab, but then it jets right up to Las Positas College, where there's 9,000 students that they estimate will be enrolled at Las Positas in the fall. And the college president's working hard to put an easy pass in every faculty, staff, and students' hands that will allow them free access onto the bus system. From Las Positas College, then you have a pretty well a direct connect right into the BART station. So a lot of students come into Las Positas from up and over the Altamont. They can take the ACE train. ACE is going to have a half-price special for students coming in on the ACE train. Then you just connect right there at the downtown Livermore Transit Center up on the Rapid, and it take you right up to the college, or similarly going out to the BART station. So that's a pretty exciting change and will drive a lot of ridership. The Route 10, which is your blue route, that route goes from a half an hour all-day service, meaning a bus hits a bus stop every half an hour, to 15-minute all-day service. And that's really feeding the winter. Route 10 is kind of the backbone of the system. So just know if you need to get into Pleasanton, and then similarly over to the BART, if you want to take that route, every 15 minutes you've got a bus. An exciting one is the light blue. So the Route 10 was the darker blue. The light blue is a brand new route. It's called the 580X. So people said if they can get a bus with a 15-minute frequency that's direct and it's within a 5-minute walk of their home, they'll take it. So the 580X leaves in the morning and in the afternoon and evening, leaves the transit center in the downtown Livermore, and it goes straight up to the 580, takes the express lane straight into BART, 15-minute ride, no parking, $2. And our phone surveys have shown that that'll be an exciting route to really do some marketing and promoting with. And then have just a few minutes left. Let me just talk to you about some of the other innovative changes on this. You'll notice up in Dublin, there used to be routes up there, and now it's pretty blank up above or north of Dublin Boulevard. That area there, Mayor Halbert and Councilman Don Biddle, who serve on the board, have really been pushing for an exciting partnership with your TNCs, your Uber, your Lyft. And so that area up there, if you want to ride, you would just get your phone app out and basically put in a special Wheels on Demand code. Just type in like a 6-digit number. And on average, you'll have an Uber, Lyft, or taxi at your home within 15 minutes. And it's part of a ride share, so you're not going all by yourself. You're into a ride share environment, and then you go anywhere you want in Dublin. And most folks will be going to the BART station, and Uber and Lyft in particular will set up dynamic routing, which allows you to make that ride share. The subsidy per ride on that partnership will be 1/3 the cost of a fixed route system. So that's an exciting, not many folks in the nation that are in that type of an arrangement with your TNCs. And then finally, in Pleasanton, the big change obviously is Route 10. It goes right up Santa Rita and into the BART station, and that's a 15-minute route. As you'll recall, Route 10 went to 15 minutes. 17,000 residents within a 5-minute walk on Santa Rita and Owens Drive of that route, and 35% of them in the phone poll said if the bus was every 15 minutes, it was livable at that frequency, they'd give it a shot. In that area, 45% of the people going to BART said that 15-minute all-day frequency was the ticket for them, that would get them excited about walking out for a short walk and then a really short cruise in the bus system into the BART station. So that's the preferred alternative in a nutshell. That's what we're asking for public comment on. And Route 15 is a big winner. It's your red route. It goes here, Springtown. Very, very productive route. It also gains some frequency changes. It goes from 1 hour frequency at midday to every 30 minutes. So heck, you'll be able to ride the bus perhaps to Rotary. See what I've got here. So again, that was the existing, and that's the way the preferred alternative looks. And the ridership increases will be about 10% immediately, and then with some really key marketing, we should be able to sustain a 5 to 8% ridership increase each year thereafter. So we'll break that 2 million ride a year barrier pretty quick. And again, that's the website where you can go look at each of those changes. You can make comments, and there's a phone number if the website's not working for you. But love to take any questions. And yes?
I'm curious, it looked like your operating costs spiked up pretty significantly in 2014 in an environment where I think fuel costs have been declining. I'm just curious what happened there.
Main reasons were they were pumping money into the bus system, increasing frequency, trying to find the right combination that would drive a change in the ridership. So that's where it really was evident that the market, the wheels market, its demographic was shifting right out from underneath the bus system with the change in the economy, housing, and so on. And so that was the moment where everyone caught on, we got a problem, as they were investing more and more and getting less and less of a return. Yes?
What are the days and hours of the Rapid?
Good question. So the days and hours of the Rapid, both the Rapid and the 10 in the preferred alternative will operate 7 days a week. From basically 5:30 in the morning till 7 p.m. It'll be every 15 minutes, at 15-minute frequency. And from 7 to 9, it will go to half an hour frequency. And then from 9 to midnight, it will operate on a 1 hour frequency. So if you're working at the library or at a hospital, if you're working in the service industry, the Rapid and the 10 certainly are the backbone of the system to get you around.
About 10 years ago, I think Wheels got their first 2 hybrid buses from Gillig.
Yeah.
How many do they have now, and what's the percentage of hybrid versus the standard diesel?
Great question. So hybrid versus regular diesel, there's about 60 buses in the fleet total, and we run 50 at peak. And I would say we're probably 80% hybrid at this point. The board is moving towards all electric, and we put in 3 grants in the last 2 months to run all electric buses, and so that will be the next juncture. We'll replace the remaining diesels over the next 12 months, and then from that moment on, it'll be all electric probably.
And are you buying most of them locally through Gillig?
Yeah, all of our buses, except for some real ancient ones, are Gillig, and we're working with Gillig to partner with them on the electric bus. Yes?
Are you a public agency, and who are the board members if you are?
Great question. So yes, we're a public agency. We're a special district. if I recall correctly. And so basically it's a partnership, for lack of a better word, between the county and the 3 cities. And so each city has 2 city council members that the mayor appoints to sit on the board. And then Scott Haggerty, the county also appoints a supervisor. Scott represents the area, so.
You mentioned Uber and Lyft.
Yes.
Is there much of a presence of Uber and Lyft here in Livermore?
There is. I actually use Lyft quite a bit. And I can tell you, on average, I have about an 8-minute wait for a car.
What does it cost to go from Livermore to Bart? The cost?
On the wheel system,
Yeah, for the bus system,
$2.
$2.
Yep, and if you buy a bulk set of tickets, you can get it down to $1.60 a ride. Most folks these days are transitioning to the Clipper card, so that when they walk on a bus, they just tap their Clipper card on a box, it records them and deducts out of their Clipper account, and it's all seamless.
Yeah, I noticed that on both proposals, there's a Route 15 that takes care of the north part of Livermore.
Yeah.
But there's nothing below Stanley where I would think the bulk of the population of Livermore is south of it. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, well, a combination, and it's generally driven by density, housing density, and then the demographics. And so I think Councilwoman Turner and Councilman Spadowski here in Livermore are watching really closely what's going on with the TNC partnershiping going on up in Dublin, and perhaps might unveil a partnership here in Livermore so that the southern piece of Livermore has some great ride-sharing services that are just as convenient as a route.
The folks in Dublin who are taking Uber and Lyft, what typically do they pay to get to BART in this way?
So these are the 2 demonstration project areas, the yellow, the area shaded yellow, and that's where you'll be able to jump on an Uber or Lyft and get a Wheels on Demand discount. So if you were in the middle of either one of these project areas and wanted to go to the BART station, either one of them, your ride would probably be about $9, and discounted with the Wheels on Demand discount, probably somewhere in the area of $5 or $6. Yeah. It'll probably, that's all driven by demand, and so as more and more people get into that service, the pricing really takes a nosedive as far as the discounts. So a little more expensive than a fixed route system, but a whole lot cheaper for the community and a whole lot more convenient for the rider.
Students that ride, do they have a rate for the, and they drop off at Livermore, Granada, and Del Valle? Is that on one of those routes there?
Interesting, in Livermore, you have a lot of premium service going right by your high schools or real close to your high schools. So in Livermore, the students don't take the school routes very often, and that's one of the things the board's dealing with as to whether they want to keep those going or not. For example, on an average school route in Livermore, probably 5 students an hour are riding it, 5 to 7. And it's because they jump on the fixed route system. In other communities, the fixed routes don't go as easily by the main schools where the students are riding to, like they do here in Livermore. So they pay $1.60 each way, and anyway, the fixed route system is much more convenient to them here in Livermore.
So I have one question. So I noticed that you get your funding about 70% from the state.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big chunk. What happens when that's gone? The 70%, is it they automatically just say, you know, the 70% automatically gets the transportation because obviously it's how we move and it's an issue. But what happens when that goes bye-bye?
That's been historically a very stable funding source. It's set up by legislation. It's called the Transportation Development Act. And so it's a percentage of the sales tax. I think it's 1/4 cent of the sales tax, put in place probably 50 years ago or quite a while back. So that's been...
Yeah, we're still paying it, yeah.
Yeah. It's been protected thus far, knock on wood.
Yeah.
And then you have a couple of other accounts.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.